What's up guys, my name is Darren and I'm a resident doctor at McMaster University. When I first got into medical school, I really wanted to make sure that I was going to be getting my money's worth when I was assigning my line of credit with whoever I decided to ultimately sign up with. Now, to save you guys the time, effort, and hassle of having to go to all the different websites and sit down with all the different advisors, I decided to make this video which ultimately will break down the 5 Canadian banks in terms of their different line of credit offerings, banking packages, credit card reward systems, as well as their sign-up bonuses to help you decide where to park your money at for the long term. Now, even though Scotiabank is probably going to be the go-to option for the majority of cases, there may be products from some of the other institutions that might cause you to want to mix and match, or even just sign up for everything with them instead of Scotiabank. Now, of course, those situations require an understanding of the products that are actually available, so do sit back and enjoy the video. As always, timestamps down below in the video description for you to peruse at your own convenience. Before I get into the different products, I thought it'd be worthwhile to actually explain how a line of credit works. Chances are you're probably familiar with checking accounts, savings accounts, and credit cards, but I know when I first got into medical school, I really had never heard of a line of credit to begin with. Reflecting on this, it's actually pretty crazy because it's not like my advisor sat me down and, explained how the interest is different on a line of credit versus a credit card, or explained how a line of credit even works. They were just kind of like, here's $350,000, do with it what you will. So obviously my first instinct when seeing this big number was that I shouldn't touch it, it's borrowed money, and I'm only going to use it when I absolutely run out of savings. The thing is that not everyone that goes into medical school will even have savings to begin with, and those that do probably don't have enough when you actually break it down to fund the cost of living over the course of their degrees. So this is where it becomes important to understand how this product works so that you can make it work for you rather than it being a tool to keep you tied to the bank forever. Essentially, a line of credit is very similar to a credit card in that you're using borrowed money to pay for things, except that the interest rate on your line of credit is typically much lower than the credit card. That being said, the catch here is that interest begins to accrue as soon as you pull money from that line of credit, whereas if you pay your balance off on time in the credit card situation, then you'll never have to pay interest on that account. So for every day that you carry a balance on your line of credit, you'll be charged interest that is due at the end of the month. From a practical perspective, what this means is that the most economical way for a medical student with no savings to fund their monthly living expenses is to pay for everything with their credit card, and once that bill is due at the end of the month, pull that money from their line of credit to finally pay off their credit card bill. Once again, before the bill is due, to A, save your credit score, and B, save you from paying 19.99% interest per annum. By doing this, you'll be effectively minimizing the amount of time that your debt balance spends on your line of credit, thus minimizing the amount of interest that you'll owe to the bank. Now at this point, I probably wouldn't expect most medical students to have a monthly budget because I personally know that I didn't really have a detailed budget at that stage of my life. But if you actually break it down, $350,000 is more than enough to cover the cost of living and your medical education if you actually break it down. So given that interest rates are still relatively low, today they're sitting at around 3.2%, and the stock market has typically returned between 7 to 10% a year on average, the question of borrowing to invest does come to mind. Now, I'm not saying that every medical student across the country should invest a chunk of their line of credit, particularly for those that may be inexperienced investors and can't fully appreciate the risks of doing so. That being said, for those that are willing to put in the extra work to learn about the concepts of the equity risk premium, behavioral risk, loan call risk, passive versus active investing, asset allocation, asset location, and a personal cash flow analysis involving interest rate stress tests. Whew, that was a mouthful. For those that are willing to put in the work to understand those concepts, It may be beneficial at some point in your training, I'm not saying today, but it may be beneficial to actually sit down and say, you know what, might it be worth it to invest a small amount of my line of credit to potentially benefit my net worth for future years to come? Of course, these concepts are beyond the scope of this video, but if you'd like to know more about how you can potentially responsibly invest a portion of your line of credit for the long term, I'll leave a link to my email newsletter in the description below, where I can dive into some of these concepts in greater detail than I would be able to on YouTube. But with that minor segue out of the way, let's get back to comparing the big 5 banks. When it comes to lines of credit, RBC, Scotiabank, and TD will each give you full access to $350,000 at prime minus 0.25%, which at today's rates is sitting at approximately 3.2%. That being said, interest rates are set to go up in the next few months, so I would definitely keep that in mind when making any projections about future spending. CIBC has a similar offer in that they also offer $350,000 at prime minus 0.25%. However, if you're going into your first year of medical school, they'll only give you $100,000 of that full amount to be available to you until your second year, and they continue to increase that amount in a stepwise fashion as you go through your years of medical school. BMO's offering, quite honestly, is the worst of the bunch, as they only offer $325K, which is crazy because it's still a large amount, but it doesn't quite stack up to the other banks. And additionally, they'll only make $85K of that available in your first year of medical school. For me personally, I'd rather have full access to that $350K all at once because A, I knew I was going to use it responsibly, and B, I wanted to have access to the funds in case of an emergency or a potential investment opportunity. That being said, if you're worried about your own spending habits and you think that you may have the potential to somehow blow through that $350K all at once, then going with one of either CIBC or BMO may make sense for you because they have a built-in safeguard to prevent you from overspending. All of these products have a 2-year interest-only grace period after you graduate from residency, which means that once you're finished your training, you can continue to make interest-only payments for an additional 2 years. However, only RBC, Scotiabank, and CIBC actually advertise the possibility of a conversion to a professional line of credit, essentially allowing you to continue making interest-only payments for the rest of your career, rather than forced conversion to a 15-year loan. Now, for all I know, BMO and TD could also have this offering as well, but the fact that they don't advertise it directly on their website makes me a little bit more weary, because that means that if I want that option when I eventually cross that bridge, then it seems to me like it'd be a lot more hassle to actually get it done, because I can't just walk into the branch and show the manager their own website's advertisement. Again, for those of you that either know what they're doing or are committed to learning about how to take care of your finances, having the option to extend that line of credit into your life as an attending physician is a great option, because it allows you to make interest-only payments and pay down the actual principal on your loan at a rate that you are comfortable with based on your own monthly expenses and the interest rates at that time. Finally, some unique features that make Scotiabank and RBC stand out even more from the crowd is that Scotiabank's line of credit is actually self-compounding. What this means is that each month the interest charges will automatically be added on to the principal of the line of credit, which saves you the hassle of having to withdraw money from the line of credit into your checking account and then paying off that line of credit. It's more of a convenience feature than something that will save you thousands and thousands of dollars, but it is an added perk that I'm not sure any other bank actually offers. RBC, on the other hand, is the only bank that I know will allow you to actually split up that $350,000 line of credit into 2 smaller lines, but this only really becomes relevant if you're considering borrowing to invest, because it'll help keep your records nice and tidy when tax season rolls around in terms of what interest charges went on with your investments and which ones you had to pay for personal use. All in all, I would probably give the edge to Scotiabank in this category just because its self-compounding feature of its line of credit has an added convenience benefit that I don't see being matched in any other product. That being said, if you're interested in borrowing to invest, you could always learn more down the line and potentially switch to RBC when you're finally ready to take the plunge. In terms of checking accounts, everywhere you go is going to get you unlimited transactions, unlimited e-transfers, no monthly fees, and no minimum balance. There's not much variation across the board, and really the only thing that separates these bank accounts, I suppose, is their sign-up bonuses. At this point in time, even the variations between those sign-up bonuses are quite minimal, as they range from $300 to $350, with RBC deciding to be special and offering AirPods Pro instead of a cashback reward. Now, technically CIBC is the winner in this scenario because they offer the highest sign-up bonus at $350, but in the long run, $50 to $100 worth of sign-up bonuses for a one-time, reward is not going to make or break things in the long run. But again, technically, I guess the winner of this category goes to CIBC. Okay, here's where things start to get interesting because the credit card offerings between the different banks are actually quite different from institution to institution. I think right off the bat, BMO has completely dropped the ball again because if you look at their offerings for medical students, they only offer a basic cashback MasterCard instead of a premium travel card like every other bank actually does. Even if you're a resident and qualify for BMO's premium travel card, which is the BMO Eclipse Visa Infinite, the annual fee is only waived for the first year of residency, meaning for every other year after that, you're going to have to pay $120 to keep that premium travel card. Now, I don't know who's in charge of BMO's marketing department, but clearly they have some work to do to catch up to their marketing towards healthcare professionals. To rank the remaining cards, we can look at their reward system, which consists of the amount of points you earn per dollar spent, as well as the actual dollar value of those points themselves. Now, if you're thinking of traveling, which is really where these cards actually shine the most anyways, then we're also going to want to look at other perks like foreign transaction fees, VIP lounge access at the airports, and of course, sign-up bonuses. Coming in at number 5, right after BMO's offerings, I would put the TD Aeroplan Visa Infinite. With this card, you do actually get the annual fee rebated all throughout medical school and residency. However, you'll still have to pay foreign transaction fees, which are usually around 2.5% when purchasing goods or services in a foreign currency. Additionally, you don't get VIP lounge access with this card, which is kind of a bummer, but not the end of the world. The only other thing I would add here is that the reward system is technically pretty good value for money. However, it's overly restrictive in that to get the 2 cents per point redemption value, you have to be purchasing through the Air Canada website or the Aeroplan store, which to me seems a little bit overly restrictive compared to some of the offerings that are available on the market. Additionally, you'll get 50,000 bonus Aeroplan welcome points, but once again, it is a little restrictive in that to get the maximum redemption value for those points, you have to purchase through Air Canada or the Aeroplan store. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know when the last time I told myself that I was going to go window shopping on the Aeroplan store was, and even if I am booking travel, I would rather go with the airline that's going to give me the best deal at the time, rather than being confined to flying with Air Canada. At number 4, I would put RBC's Avion Visa Infinite. Looking at their reward system, it's actually fairly straightforward in that you get 1 RBC point per dollar spent. Now, even though 1 point per dollar doesn't seem overly enticing, the actual value of those points tells a different story. Each one of those RBC points is worth 2.33 cents, which is the highest of any of its competitors, earning this card an overall reward score of 2.5 on Credit Card Genius. Additionally, you'll get 35,000 bonus welcome points, which is worth approximately $815 if you convert that for travel. Finally, even though you will get VIP lounge access with this card, unfortunately, you'll still have to pay foreign transaction fees, which is one of the reasons this card didn't make it into the top 3. At number 3, CIBC's Aventura Visa Infinite is actually quite similar to RBC's Avion Visa Infinite in that you'll still have to pay those foreign transaction fees, unfortunately, but with that you do get the annual fee rebate, the VIP lounge access at the airport, and a point redemption value that is ever so slightly less at 2.3 cents per point rather than 2.33 cents per point in the case of RBC. However, where the CIBC Aventura Visa Infinite does actually have a leg up on RBC is that each of the categories of groceries and gas has a point multiplier of 2x and 1.5x respectively. This basically means that effectively you'll be earning 4.6% back on your dollars spent on groceries and 3.45% back on the dollars spent on gas when you actually go to redeem them for travel. All of this adds up to a Credit Card Genius Rewards rating of a 3 out of 5, which once again puts this card at the number 3 spot. At number 2, you have Scotia's Visa Infinite, which includes all the perks previously mentioned, so your VIP lounge access and your annual fee rebate, but additionally it also has no foreign transaction fees. This is super helpful when traveling because when you're abroad and purchasing something in a foreign currency, if you're using any of the other cards, you may have to pay a foreign transaction fee of up to 2.5%, whereas when I'm using the Scotia Visa Infinite, I know that I'm getting exactly what I paid for. In terms of rewards, you'll get 2 points per dollar spent on groceries, dining, entertainment, transportation, and rideshare, with an overall point redemption value of 1 cent per point when redeeming for travel. All of this accumulates to a Credit Card Genius reward score of 2.1 out of 5. Now, the sign-up bonus of 35,000 welcome scene points has a cash value of $350. So all of this may leave you wondering why this card took the number 2 spot, because when we just look at this card in isolation, it appears that CIBC and RBC actually have better incentives than Scotiabank does in this case. While this is certainly true, I know that many of you will value the simplicity of having one login for all of your banking needs. The reason that the Scotiabank Visa Infinite took the number 2 spot is that it pairs so well with the uncontested winner of this contest, which is, drumroll please, the Scotiabank Amex Gold. With this card, you get every other perk on the market that was previously mentioned, including your annual fee rebate, VIP lounge access at the airport, no foreign transaction fees, and the most generous reward system out of all of its competitors. Even though each point is still only worth 1 cent when being redeemed for travel, you'll get 5 points per dollar back on every dollar spent on groceries, dining, and entertainment, 3 points per dollar on every dollar spent on gas, transportation, streaming, and rideshare, and 1 point per dollar back on everything else. Now, all of this totals to a Credit Card Genius reward score of a 4.4 out of 5, which absolutely blows the competition out of the water. Additionally, you'll also get the bonus 45,000 welcome points, which once again in cash value is worth $450. And if you pair that with the bonus that you get from the Visa Infinite, also from Scotiabank, those two bonuses together add up to approximately what you would get with RBC and CIBC anyways. When you apply to Scotiabank, you'll most likely be approved for both cards, and in practicality, what most medical students and residents end up doing is paying with their Amex Gold because of that generous reward system whenever possible, and whenever coming across a merchant that doesn't take Amex, they would pull out their Visa Infinite and pay with that instead. Now, with that being said, there's absolutely no reason why you can't have a Scotiabank Amex Gold and a CIBC Aventura Visa Infinite if you really wanted to. All you'd have to make sure about is that your credit score is high enough to sustain 2 separate credit inquiries, because every time you apply for a credit card through a certain institution, they will check your credit score, and that credit inquiry temporarily drops your score a few points. Now, the only other thing that you may want to watch out for is, a bit of an awkward conversation with the banking reps explaining why you're opening a line of credit at one institution and a credit card at the other institution, but I don't truly foresee this being a barrier for you shopping around if that's what you really want to do and you're willing to coordinate having multiple logins. And for what it's worth, I do have friends that actually practice credit card churning, which is the process of applying for new credit cards every couple of months and canceling the old ones in order to take advantage of those bonus welcome rewards. I personally, though, have never ventured there myself because I wouldn't want to take the hit on my credit score, but I will leave that in your hands to explore. For those of you that are looking for a single institution solution to all of your banking needs, none of the big 5 banks come quite as close to Scotiabank in terms of the perks associated with their credit cards and lines of credit. If you're looking to borrow to invest, you can always contact RBC and see if they're still willing to split up your large line of credit into 2 smaller chunks in order to help with that record keeping. But once again, borrowing to invest comes with additional added risks that need to be fully understood prior to engaging in this activity. Of course, if you really want to, you could have products from multiple different institutions. The only thing I would recommend there is that you're comfortable coordinating multiple logins and payment schedules. If you found this video helpful, do hit the subscribe button for more medical student and resident personal finance content. And finally, I'll leave a link in the description box below where you can sign up for my monthly email newsletter. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you guys next time.